Now, before I begin, I need to preface that the title has nothing to do with my overall enjoyment of isekai anime. I love isekai anime. It's one of my favorite genres. That's why I've made way too many videos about a specific isekai that's about a delusional high school boy getting hit by a truck-kun and being reincarnated into a world of swords and magic. Which, considering that description could be applied to most isekai as well, is kind of what I'm talking about here. Like, isekai are kind of strange, right? Now, again, I enjoy isekai a lot, as I'm sure a lot of people do. I mean, it likely wouldn't have gotten to be as overdone as it is without some level of support and enjoyment. But I think that's precisely been people's point when complaining about the genre. It's always felt like quantity over quality, which I think could easily be applied to this new era of anime where someone gets banished from the hero's party or becomes a villainess. Like, I don't know if we have genre names for those yet, but it feels like we're getting really close to the point where we should. Anyway, I think people really enjoy the concept of isekai though. Like, in some ways it lets us live out fantasies of if we were in a different situation than our current one, or if we lived in a different world. Maybe a fantastical one, or a technologically advanced one, or maybe just at a different time period or something. My point is that I think people enjoy the concept of putting themselves in other people's places and imagining what they would do. Empathy. I think people like empathy. I also think human delusions are oftentimes the reason for human innovation. And other times, it's an excuse for us to binge watch an entire 12-episode anime for 6 hours instead of doing what we had originally planned that day. But regardless, I think isekai scratches an itch that all humans have. It provides us with a solution to death. I mean, sure, video game isekai don't really do that. In fact, they oftentimes are the opposite, trying to kill us in the game and real life and shit. But I think reincarnation, even for those that don't believe in it, is still a fascinating concept and gives people closure to something that usually is a sad and dark topic to think about. I mean, death can be a very scary thing. To some, it's an idea of finality, an end to life and existence as we know it. To others, it's a beginning to a new life in another body, or a new life in an everlasting one. Regardless of your beliefs, we all think about or have thought about death, even if it's not scary to do so anymore. Isekai oftentimes offers up a solution to dying. Now you no longer die a lonely virgin by the unforgiving hands of truck-kun, or have to burn for all of eternity because you watch too many off-brand anime about tentacles and totally consenting anime girls. Now you can imagine a new life, where new explorations and adventures can begin. Now you can be the one using the tentacles, or hell, I mean, you could even become truck-kun. The possibilities can feel endless. Which brings me to my most obviously strange thing about isekai, the titles and show concepts. I think we've all been either fascinated or possibly annoyed by the ridiculously long titles that anime have at times, and the genre that likely is the biggest culprit is, of course, isekai. I mean, just saying that time I got reincarnated as a slime feels like way too much, and honestly, that isn't even close to being the worst one. Sometimes it feels like you don't even have to watch the show to understand what happens, like the title just spoils the whole damn thing for you. Not to mention the story concepts are also oftentimes insane as well. Like, I think most of us are used to and honestly numb to the OP protagonist with a harem trope, but you can watch it with a Bone Daddy MC, a Slime MC, hell, you can even watch the MC become a fucking sword and a vending machine now. Now, I haven't actually watched those last two, so I'm not gonna hate, but you have to admit that the concepts can get a little wild and out there at times. But even if the concept itself isn't that strange, that doesn't stop the show from having some absurd moments, like a succubus being a virgin, a mage that needs to explode once a day, and literal cow titty milk. And for anybody that thinks that I might be complaining about this stuff, I am most definitely not. I actually think these things are hilarious, and these ridiculously humorous moments may or may not be the reason, or at least a reason, why I actually enjoy this genre as much as I do. Like, the ridiculousness is what makes it much more memorable and fun, in my opinion. I think it only adds to the enjoyment of a series when the concept and scenes are strange and out there because it makes it feel more unique, which in an oversaturated market like the isekai genre can be the reason a show is either remembered or forgotten. And all of this stems from the original idea and concept of being transported or reincarnated into another world. And with that concept, it kind of lets the possibilities become endless. My point is that I think tons of people enjoy the concept and the possibilities that the isekai genre present to you. But just because lots of people enjoy it doesn't mean that it isn't kind of strange. Especially when you consider the fact that most of the most beloved and respected series within the genre involve the main character being put through crazy amounts of trials or tribulations, or honestly, sometimes even just straight up torture. So much so that it's hard to consider the likelihood of anybody actually wanting to be put in their shoes. Like, Re:Zero, for example, is so well respected and loved that I think some people don't think about just how awful it would be to be Subaru. Like, in 99% of the situations he finds himself in, it's horrible. Like, bro has died horrific deaths more times than I can count, and people still adore this series. It feels like they almost revel in his suffering, you know? I mean, also, more likely, they just appreciate good storytelling, and human struggles usually help push a good narrative. It's probably why we don't usually like series where protagonists don't struggle or work hard to earn what they have. But I don't think that it really matters too much if a protagonist is overpowered or not. We just want to see them work, or struggle, or have some type of obstacle that they can overcome. And I think when they are overpowered, we just want to understand why they're overpowered. Like, Sid Kageno from that series I talk way too much about is so incredibly overpowered that he has never truly struggled in a fight, since, well, the very first fight we see him in, which he doesn't even have magic for. But we understand why he's that strong. He explains it to us himself through his inner monologues and even during his fights sometimes. Rimuru from the Slime Isekai is so incredibly broken that it's honestly hard to understand at times. But even when we can't, we can usually just chalk it up to him having access to the Great Sage and the countless abilities that he's absorbed from people. I mean, hell, we can even justify the great Bone Daddy Ainz's OP-ness with him just spending way too much money on a pay-to-win game in the past. The point is that being overpowered doesn't necessarily mean that a character has no struggles. I mean, sure, these characters rarely go through a tough time in a fight, but they each have goals they're striving towards and hit tons of bumps along the way, and I think that's why it's still enjoyable to watch them. But where there are hits, there are always misses, and I think most people would argue that there have been way more misses within the isekai genre than hits. I mean, I remember watching nearly every single seasonal isekai for like a couple of years straight, and I could probably count on one hand the amount that I genuinely thought were good shows. And yet, I would probably say that I actually enjoyed way more of those. Which is weird, right? Like, how could I enjoy a show that I myself consider to be bad? I mean, it's one thing to think that a show is actually good and then have somebody disagree with you. But it's a completely different thing to think a show is bad yourself and still enjoy it. Like, I'm sure we could all think of an isekai that we thought was pretty bad in the traditional sense, but had redeeming qualities like humor or world building. But wouldn't having redeeming qualities that were meaningful enough to sway us into enjoying the show just make it a good show? Like, if a show has enough reasons to watch and enjoy it, I'd be inclined to just consider it a good show. Because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, right? Is having a good time watching a show. So if an isekai happens to fulfill that desire, I would be inclined to say it did its job and was pretty good. I mean, who cares if it was better than that one show you watched 7 years ago that took your anime virginity and never texted you back? But my whole point was that I think it's okay to enjoy shitty isekai, or shitty anime in general, however strange it may be to do so. Find a way to separate the intellectual peak that you love and the absolute filthy slop isekai that you enjoy. I think we all know that not every show needs to be as good as Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, but I also think we all know that no show should ever be as bad as Smartphone Isekai either. Anyway, That'll do it for me yapping incoherently about Isekai. I do really enjoy this genre and am always interested in the new series that come out in it. Let me know what your thoughts are about Isekai in the comments, and if you really enjoyed smartphone Isekai, I'm sorry. You deserve better. But in all seriousness, just enjoy what you like and don't let some nerd on the internet decide that for you. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace.